Hey everybody, welcome back live at Drew's house, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Hope you're all doing well out there. Can you believe we're at the end of the school year and the sports seasons are all ending and all this stuff? With that, we kind of do a little wrap up of the athletic year here with the Newburyport Athletic Director Kyle Hodsdon in the house. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Seems like we were just here in August, kicking off the year.
I know.
I believe we're wrapping it up.
Does it fly by for you? Because it does. It feels like you are just here. Yeah.
It does. Every day's a game day. So,
Yeah.
and that's true for the athletic trainer Molly Hogan and myself. We have a game every day, and
Yep.
now the playoff season's around. This is the best time of the year, and kids fighting for that.
Yeah.
That advancement, survive and advance. So
Beautiful. So, tennis, that's up my neck. I'm a big tennis player. You got two good tennis teams over there right now. Congratulations on great seasons, huh?
we do. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I will, before we talk about our tennis team, I'd like to thank the City of Newburyport. We just have been approved for 3 new tennis courts at the Knock Middle School. So that's huge in the tennis world because we have 2 new courts there, and we have 3 at Atkinson, which are beautiful, and it's a beautiful setting. But it's difficult to play a match with 5.
Yeah.
They last 3.5 hours. And the most unfortunate part is our girls tennis team and our boys this year, when you qualify for the MIA tournament, you must have a minimum of 4 courts.
Yes.
So I think we're on like an 8-game playoff win streak at Pentucket for our home games.
Wow.
So our teams get in a van, have to go over and host other schools. Pentucket's beautiful.
Yep.
We're very thankful that they allow us to come over and use it. But it would be nice if we could have something on campus.
Yep.
And it's great for the PE curriculums. We'll be adding it in the middle school and high school, as well as people from all ages being able to play tennis. So now we're going to have 8 nice tennis courts in Newburyport.
Beautiful. I imagine, they're busy out there, too. I just drove by my courts in Danvers. I see kids out there, not necessarily with the best form, but they're starting young. The kids like to get out there and hit the ball, and that can only be good for building at an earlier age, too, right?
Yeah, we're seeing an increase at the Newburyport Racket Club for out of season, for lessons.
Yeah.
And that's starting to trickle into the high school now. So it was just a few years ago we didn't have a team.
I know. When you first got here, we didn't have a team, right? I remember talking about it.
We were losing it, and we lost it.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple, and we combined with Triton, and both schools were struggling. So we took it over because we took it over, and actually you might remember the name Finn Sullivan.
Yeah. Yep.
During COVID, we had 4 season athletes because of the way they readjusted the season.
Yep.
And Finn played 4 seasons that year.
Wow.
And he brought that, multi-sport mentality and a group of friends and interest, and behind him were like tennis players. Not just athletes, but they were true tennis players. They're athletes, but true tennis players. And now we're seeing younger players coming up, and so the girls are about 6 to 8 years ahead of the boys. The girls were in this spot, and now they've won 7 straight league championships, 2 straight state championships.
Always good, huh?
Number 2 seed this year going into the playoffs.
Man. Wow, so that's pretty incredible. It's fascinating to see how quickly that can change. I mean, to go from not having a team, not being able to put a team out there because of numbers, to making deep playoffs runs in the state tournaments. I mean, you attribute it to one player maybe kind of spearheading the thing, and it really sometimes it's that, right? I think about that volleyball story you told me. You guys didn't have a volleyball team either, and one girl comes up to you. You can help me with her name if you remember it.
Yeah.
You don't remember it? I was going to say you guys must have a tough time with names. Keep going.
That was a long time ago now.
It was, but I remember you telling me though. You said she walked into your office and said, "Hey, I think there's interest here," and you said, "I'll listen to you." And you did, and now here we go, right?
And I was just coming off the exact same situation at Bonnie Eagle in Maine.
Yeah.
2 girls came in, said, we'd like to start volleyball. I said, do this, this, this. They did it, showed interest. We were a club for 1 year, MPA at the time. That's what Maine is.
Yep.
The following year, same thing happened here. We had interest. We had 4 teams our first year. We had 2 freshman teams. And then it took off. And of course, Sydney Yim moves in from New York.
Yeah.
And Player of the Year in Massachusetts. She's at Purdue right now. One brother plays baseball. One brother plays tennis for us. And there's a younger player coming up. So
how's she doing at Purdue? You watch her there?
I don't know how well. That's a fall season. So
Yeah,
it
true.
seems so far removed now.
Yeah.
But I know she was doing well the last
Gotcha.
Last I know.
But I mean, it's just a serious. I mean, I guess it's a good thing to tell any kids out there. If you want to play a sport, it's not being offered somewhere. There's things to do about it. Don't just sit there and cry, right?
Yeah, and we our participation rate in my 9 years has gone from 52% to 77%. So our kids are playing. Our numbers
overall
are huge.
Athletics
In every sport.
Yeah.
So we're talking about tennis now.
Yep.
It's like that in all our sports right now. And I'll give you an example. Girls tennis.
Yep.
We had 44 girls in our JV team.
Oh my goodness. 7 people start, people.
Correct. So, our coaches did a great job realizing this is a lifetime sport.
Yep.
And by cutting, somebody might take that opportunity for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So they may not play as many matches. We actually split it into 3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
But they're able to practice each day, and they're able to get some skills, develop skills, and some lessons from our coaches. So
Yeah, probably lessons from other players too, right? I mean, I remember being on the tennis court, and I learned stuff from guys that were older than me. Serving tricks from the kid that was 2 years older than you.
Sure.
That picks up like you can practice like you play, right? It's probably a good thing.
Caroline Schulzen, good example of that. Last year, graduated, finished her career 63-0.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad, but she was truly a leader with the whole development of our program too.
Yeah. Wow, that's great stuff to hear. Those must make for crazy practices, though. You got to give coaches a lot of credit when you're organizing.
Innovative,
them.
yes.
You got to be innovative. That's a good word for it. So, and I know you're very proud of your coaching staff. You're still thrilled with the group you got right now?
Excellent, top to bottom, and our assistant coaches, our JV2, our freshman coaches. It's we have coaches who really appreciate. They like the kids. They care about the kids.
Yeah.
And the kids in turn play hard for the coaches, and it's a good recipe. It's
a beautiful thing. I know you're already on to planning for seasons ahead. We always joke about that, how far ahead you always have to be in your job, in your line of work. But do you get enough time? Man, I see you at these events all the time, which is why people like you. You actually are one of those ADs who likes to be there and see these events as much as possible. Do you get to really go to see, especially these final matches when you're in really making deep state tournament runs? Do you get to go and just be Kyle and family and whatever and sit back and just watch it and take it in?
Absolutely not. It's like nothing 180 from that.
Yeah.
These are it's the most enjoyable time because this is what we prepare for all year, plan for. Mm-hmm. Like we already have our boys basketball, girls basketball, and boys hockey schedule done.
Yeah.
All the fall is done. So you plan that far ahead. So when you get to this point in the spring season where now it's paying off.
Yeah.
It's great. But because of my title, I have other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So if we're hosting an event, there's a lot that goes with that because I'm representing the MIA, and I've got to make sure.
Yeah.
We had a girls lacrosse game recently. A boys game was before, the girls game was playing second. There's 22 minutes on the clock for warm-ups. Our team goes out. They're in maybe 4 lines to start a drill, and they're looking around. They have no balls. Archbishop Williams mistakenly, because they were sharing the bench, took our lacrosse balls.
Oh.
So it's a minor panic trying to get things. So it's once the game starts, then it's a little more relaxing, but it's the whole setup. I wouldn't say it's kickback and fun family time. But,
yeah. And there tends to be just other chaos. I'm not necessarily at your place. I just remember from events back in my day, it's like, there's usually somebody hit somebody in the parking lot. There was a car that bumped into another car or something, like just silly things that happen, right?
But it's my life. It's my passion. I went to 7 games on Saturday. 4 of them were my kids early in the morning.
Yep.
And then we had a girls softball game, which was work, but that was fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Minus the outcome.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful day.
They were in here. They were a great group of girls.
They're a great group. We're going to miss the 4 seniors, their leadership. But when I left that game, I went to an area high school in New Hampshire that just happened to have a playoff game, and then I took my son, and I was a fan, and I got to enjoy the game like.
You guys just went to hang out?
We just went to watch a good rivalry game, a playoff game, and.
That's cool. He likes that too.
He does.
He's following in Dad's footsteps. How old are the kids right now?
My kids I have 12. I have 2 12-year-olds.
2 12-year-olds. Yeah. Okay. Well, that keeps you busy too, huh? It's a good. I remember that being a good age. It's the end of Little League, right?
Yeah. My daughter plays softball, so it's like their games every night, 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So just about when we're getting down here, I'm flying to one of their fields to finish out the day.
Well, you got some good sun. You've been out at.
No choice.
No choice. Yep, I hear you. I got some on the tennis court the other day. I got yelled at for no sunscreen. You know, they put the sunscreen dispensers on the sides of the court, and I don't think they filled them up yet for the year. I did try to put sunscreen on, but I didn't have any of my
Doesn't that
own.
make the racket slippery?
Yeah, I don't love it, but
Okay.
you know, I also don't love being sunburned, so you gotta be careful of all of it. But yeah, it does make the racket slippery. You're right. But and you get so, even when you're not feeling the sun. I mean, maybe I'm sure your players know this. If you're not like cloudy days, you can still be vulnerable on a tennis court to sun. It's like it just gets you somehow. I don't know what it is. It's like the attraction of the courts and this. I don't know. It's hard. That's where I get my most sunburns. Be careful out there, tennis kids. Wear your sunscreen on the courts. Kyle Hodsdon joining us again here. So tennis is big. Lacrosse is always good too. I mean, you guys you have like dynasties now with these teams. My goodness.
Yeah, and it starts with our coaches developing.
Yeah.
Kat Batchelder started our girls program,
Yeah.
like from scratch, and has built a youth program. So, you know, Molly Liberty, who is the starting goalie at Northwestern, won the national championship last year. This year, they lost the national championship game to BC by 1 goal. She's going to graduate. Kate Keller, our current goalie, is going to Northwestern.
I had heard that through the grapevine.
So,
It's incredible. Yeah.
I mean, we have players that continue to play beyond high school at a high level.
Yeah.
So that shows the type of program that our coaches have developed. And Josh Wedge had taken over a program that was up and down, and he's brought us to a new level and kept us there.
Wow. That's great. And a goalie factory. Didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, you know, that's pretty unique.
Jeez, that is strange. I mean, part of the reason she went there, right, was because that was a mentor of hers. She loved Northwestern. It's a good fit, right? I would imagine. There's no way there's no connection, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. When you talk about like a lacrosse team, like lacrosse has been great for how many years? It's been, I wouldn't even guess. It's a decade.
Yeah, our girls team won the state championship in 2014.
14.
That was the first time.
Okay.
And then they were top level, top tier.
So it's been a decade of really great teams.
They got back to the Final Four a few times. You know, maybe four or five times.
That's wild.
And then last year they won the state championship.
So when you get to that point, like I would imagine, and maybe you can probably see this better than most people, but when you get to that point, I mean, it is the rich get richer almost, right? Because I mean, these kids that are in elementary school and middle school, lacrosse is cool here. I mean, look at these girls; they get to celebrate and win state titles. Like, I want to be a lacrosse player, and that just has to. It must be kind of tough to break up that sort of program. It's great momentum, right?
Yeah, we're actually seeing that in all our sports now. If you go to a baseball
Yeah.
game, strong baseball group coming up, softball group coming up. So I think this is going to continue like over the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
But definitely lacrosse. And if you know, at our game just the other day, there's lacrosse, the young kids running around everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're, you know, they're watching their role models and hopefully envisioning themselves out there someday and having that same success.
You know, when I played, when I was playing tennis, but I grew up playing Little League, like, you know, so many kids do and everything. And everybody was telling me when I was coming up, like, well, you know, baseball is gonna die. Lacrosse is gonna take it over. Lacrosse is gonna take it over. And I see lacrosse has grown into a very popular sport. I get that. But you're a baseball guy too. You're like me. We both like our baseball. They're just two different worlds, right? I think there's enough for everybody. Baseball's in a fine place too at the high school level, right?
It is. It is. You know, and there was a time, not right now, and lacrosse and baseball might have been rivals.
Yeah. I mean, you probably lose some kids, right? I mean, it happens, but
you know, but at Newburyport, they share the same locker room. Our kids want to see that their classmates succeed. Mm-hmm. So it's baseball. Baseball, for whatever reason, I think all around is rejuvenated as well.
Yeah.
And we have some excellent players. I know my son played against the Newburyport 12-year-old team, and fantastic. And I know we have some middle school kids who are very talented. So I think we're going to have some kids who enter the high school and will be competing for varsity JV spots right away. So that's good.
You're a good person to ask this, actually, because of that 12-year-old age, and it just hit me. I don't think I've ever asked you this before. I remember there was a coach in Danvers. His name was Roger Day, very famous coach, coached decades there. Just stopped a couple of years ago, but won all sorts of titles. And he had always pushed for, at that 13-year-old age, to have not jump immediately to the big diamond, to make little leaguers jump to the big diamond. If you've ever seen 13-year-old baseball play, it can be a little bit sloppy. It's some kids have grown faster than others, and some kids are still more at that little league shape, and the game can just, sloppy is probably the word. Has that ever been discussed? Have you ever heard that in the baseball circles at all, of like an intermediate diamond?
Yeah, no, I think what's happened is the Little League, back when we were, there's now Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
And Cal Ripken is that tweener. So
Okay.
it's 70-foot bases instead of 60.
Oh, so they did it.
So 60 to 90, now that's 70. The mound goes back 5 feet. You can lead. So it's more of the real baseball that you see beyond Little League.
It's like a hybrid. Okay.
So my son played a club team that played those rules, but then played Little League in season, and it was tough because he can't lead anymore.
He wants to lead.
And it's different rules.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but I think that's the reason.
Gotcha.
There are more off-season opportunities. Like my son uses a wooden bat. He doesn't care for training.
Yes.
And that's common. You see the young, or any of our players walking around, they've got 2 bats in their bag, a game bat, and a lot of them have a wood bat. So that's a training bat. It's heavier. The drop ounces is a little bit shorter, makes it heavier, harder,
Yep.
so that their game bat would be more powerful.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that would be a new thing. I don't remember too many baseball guys walking around with a wooden bat 20 years ago, so that's interesting.
Yeah, well, maybe 30 years ago they all had wooden bats. But
That's true. Yeah. They do still use an aluminum bat at the high school level, right? I haven't seen a game.
yeah, they
in a
don't
while.
use wood in games.
Yeah.
That's a training bat.
Yeah.
And there are some, summer leagues where they play just wood, and it's good baseball. If you ever have a chance to go to the Cape, the college,
Yeah.
I mean, they play wood at a high level. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. All right. Good baseball talk there. Again, Kyle Hodsdon joining us here, Newburyport Athletic Director. Final few moments with him on he's always busy. He's still busy. Even at the end of the school year, you're busy here. And these days, what about like the stuff outside the peripheral of the actual athletics? We've been talking about, I feel like we've been having years of this. Bus shortages, referee shortages, they all still there? Anything getting better?
Nothing's better. We're
Nothing is better.
It's exactly whatever we talked about 2 years ago or since COVID. It's still the same. If anything, it's getting a little bit worse.
Really?
And it's across the board now. It's more districts.
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's with buses more.
With
than
the
anything?
buses.
Yeah.
What's happening is the drivers are the drivers who are doing the regular routes. So you have to wait till the regular routes are done. And we had a team show up an hour late the other day for a tennis match, for a playoff match. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And all of our lacrosse playoff games are double headers. So fortunately, we can host up to 3 for both teams, which is all the way to the Final Four, which is pretty good advantage.
Yeah.
But they earn that by going through the regular season. But we play double headers. So if that first team is late, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And our opponents, we've played Nauset twice already. Do you know what Nauset is?
Way down south, right?
It's way down and out the Cape. It's took our baseball team 3 hours to get
Oh
there.
my goodness, is it that long?
And we played their girls tennis team there. I felt so bad. They came up through Boston traffic.
Oh my goodness.
Took them almost 4 hours. The tennis match lasted 51 minutes. And then they had to go home through Boston again and Cape traffic on a Friday. That's part of the statewide tournament. That's one of the issues.
Yeah.
The benefit of being a higher seed is we don't have to deal with that. Although the next day, our baseball team got on a bus, had to go to that same spot. And
Yikes.
Unfortunately, we lost 3-2 in that.
So that's happening all over the state. There are some draws, right?
All over. Amesbury went to Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket last year for hockey, and it's just happening. But we could potentially have 11 home playoff games, which is crazy. Some schools, don't have many at all. So.
You, if I remember correctly, though, you actually like this new format, right? As far as the state tournament goes, you like it being open up to it's not so much regions, and then regions meet. It's so all the state. If you're with 1 versus 62 or whatever it is, that you play 1 versus 62, no matter where they are in the state. I think you like that. Am I putting words in your mouth?
I do. No, I do. It's 1 through 32, and then anybody who's above 500. So one of the flaws is anybody above 32, if they're above 500, they have a play-in game with 33 will play 32, 34. So if you're a top seed, you have to wait for that game to get done. So that's one of the drawbacks of being a top seed, because then you have to start later.
Yeah.
So our lacrosse teams were off for over a week, and now if they were to advance to the state championship, let's use our girls for example, they would play 5 games in 10 days. Maybe it's 9 days. So it would, that's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Where you have to cram things in. Now, if we didn't have to wait for the playing game, then we could have played it a little bit early and give them a little bit of rest. And when you do that, in that 10-day stretch, she can't give them a day off.
Right.
Because you play, then you have a day to get ready for the next opponent.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But I do like it, mainly because it's benefited Newburyport. Like, we've advanced further. We've got to the Final Four more often. We've won it. We've won more state championships. So in theory, this system's supposed to get the best teams, give the best teams the best chance to advance and win a state championship. You know, in the past, we'd beat up, and other North teams would beat up each other to get there. And maybe some other regions and some sports weren't as strong.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nice. And it's also nice to get out and see other parts of the state.
Sure.
I mean, I've never heard of, we play teams, you don't know how to pronounce the names, and they're just like us. They just come from 3+ hours away.
Yeah. So you like taking in the new scenery.
We don't travel. Yeah. Once we get to the Final Four, we travel, and some of our teams will travel a little bit earlier. But fortunately, we're hosting mostly.
It's got to be. I mean, you said that, you know, that was lame for them, and I think anybody does feel that way. They're making like a 4-hour trip to a tennis match is tough on a high schooler after school. I mean, you can't get out early, right? You got to live by the school schedule too. So it's not like you can beat the traffic early in the morning. That's another problem, right? I mean, is there anything that can be done about that? It just seems like that seems rough. And God knows what time they got back too, right? They probably hit traffic on the way home too.
Yeah, it would have been bad. Yeah, that's discussed often, and I'm not sure with the way the state is laid out. I'm not sure there's anything. If we want to go all state model, I'm not sure there's anything we can do about that. And you know, we talk about it as our staff, our coaches, and like, well, if you are the higher seed, you don't have to travel.
Yeah.
So let's
certainly an incentive, right?
An incentive, right?
Man, well, how about the other part of that factor? Because let me tell you this, I was at a Little League game not too long ago, and we talk about this almost every show now because you are consistently talking about how there is a shortage of officials out there all across the state, all across the country, and because it's a hard job and they take a lot of crap and they don't get paid particularly great, right? I mean, usually people are doing it as a side gig. I'm at a Little League game recently, and like a regular season Little League, these kids are 10, 11, and 12, and like I could not believe the level of intensity from the crowd, and like not the good intensity. You know, it was like the working the balls and strikes of the umpire. And like as a kid who used to do that, like he's just working them. Like that umpire hears every single thing that guy's saying back there, and it's just I'm like looking at it, and it hasn't changed at all. I used to do those games when I was 13, 14, 15, 16. So you know, it's 20+ years ago, and nothing has changed. Everybody's still crazy in the crowd. What do we do about this?
Well, I don't know what we can do about the crowd. Like our fans are passionate,
sure,
and supportive, and vocal. And from that comes different things. But the bottom line is they're supportive and passionate, which is great.
Yeah.
Our coaches and players can handle the officials.
Yeah.
The spectators aren't necessarily going to influence a call, but the coaches and the players maybe can do that. But I would rather have passionate fans, people who show up, people who cheer. You know, so it's a nice atmosphere when we have games.
Yeah, I you know what, I don't know. I think it's probably a good thing for every kid to. Even I play like pickup basketball right now, and like I notice our guys when that games we have like certified officials now. Like when some of these men's leagues you have real officials, and like we always like to go out of our way to make sure we give a little fist tap. Thank you guys, you know, just for taking time out of the day. Like I think I love it when I see high school kids do that, like at the end of the games, because that Little League game I was at. Umpire's going to his car, you know, not meaning this in any degrading way, but it's a young kid, and he's, you know, not driving a Lexus or anything. Jumps into a car, puts his stuff up there, and guys are still yelling at him, going to the car. Like, I was this close to getting involved, because, like, and I have no kids there. I'm just watching, watching these Little League parents, you know? So, I don't know. It does seem better at the high school level. It seems like at the high school level, it's almost like parents are there for the kids more than more than, I don't know. Maybe you see it.
There are different levels and different. It's different for each sport, different communities. And,
Yeah.
but it's they're certified. They've passed tests. They know the rules.
Yeah.
They might make a wrong judgment call. They're human. I'm looking into starting a class at the high school. There's a program out there that does this, and that offer it could be part of our PE curriculum, and the students would actually be, by completing this class, they would be certified with a patch to officiate a high school game.
That's cool.
Now, it wouldn't be, the intent isn't to throw them into a high school game as a high school student, but if they're at the lower levels and they do that and they go to college, now you're doing JV games and you're picking out, it's pretty good pocket change for a college student.
Yeah.
Especially some of it's all sports now. We're being told you can't play on this day because there's no officials. Certainly girls lacrosse, like this, there's more games in a day than there are officials. We have games, not necessarily at Newburyport, but there are games that are canceled because there are no officials. Beautiful day, no officials.
And this is like 5 years of that problem, because I remember talking about this like when we were getting through COVID, right?
Yeah, since COVID, some of the officials stopped, and then some are getting older. If you go to a game, I see all the officials. The average age is like retirement age, and there's not enough younger. So we're trying to encourage, of course we need coaches, so we want our student athletes to be a coach or give back in that capacity, but as they get out in their profession, they may not be able to. Their job might be a 9 to 5 or something. They might not be able to do that every day, but they might be able to officiate.
Sure.
2 days a week and work that out in their job.
Yep.
That's giving back too. So somehow we've got to, from each school in the region, we've got to be recruiting kids who will come back and be part of that officiating group.
No doubt. Yeah, it's a great thing, and it is a rewarding job too. When it's good. I mean, there are kids that are now adults that will come up to me. I remember you used to umpire my games. Hopefully they say you were good. It's like it's a cool thing though to see. Just you grow up with kids, you watch. Hopefully call some great games. Like if you're a sportsman, you enjoy it. It's mostly. So it can be a very rewarding job too. How's Coach Amin doing after the winter knockout? I know last time he was in here. He kept his cool very good with me, but I know he did not like the officiating in his final game. I was going to check in on him all off season.
Yeah, he had such a great team, and they were great kids. That would, and I said it, so it's not like a private conversation, but that's one of my favorite teams that we've had at Newburyport.
That hockey team.
Hockey team.
Yeah.
Just great kids, and I loved watching them play and compete, especially at the Graph with that size rink, the energy they brought every day. We get on to Woburn, the rink's a little bit bigger. It's Woburn's home ice. It's a couple of calls, didn't, whatever. It's the way it goes.
I think he's still watching the tape on a couple of them. Him.
Yeah. But it's too bad because we had a lot of key pieces and tough kids and that worked hard and they bought into it. So you want to see those kids succeed. And it's too bad that it had to end. That's
always when you lose that final state tournament game. And I know you're here with some of your final teams right now. Some for the seniors, that's it for a lot of them. It is kind of. As a coach, you've been a coach your whole life. It's like you want to just see that ride keep going, and you just don't want it to end, right?
Right. With coaches don't plan for the end of the season. Yeah. You plan for the next opponent. Yep. And then all of a sudden it ends and abruptly. And the tough part, the intensity of these for the spectators too in these last games, because seasons are ending, careers are ending, so there's so much at stake. Yeah. And so much emotion comes out, especially in tight games. And as we advance, the games should get tighter and tighter. It's a stressful atmosphere.
I bet it is. You're thinking back. Parents are thinking back to how long these kids have worked and their childhood ages and all that. Do you ever do you stay out of anything locker room or pregame stuff with the coaches over these things? Or is there one pre-tournament message from the athletic director, or do you trust your coaches to deliver your message?
No, that's their place. That's their sacred place. If I walked in, and I might go in and talk to a coach in the coach's room, but I'm not hanging around in there, and I don't. That's their place.
Yep.
You know, and I'm trying to support them everywhere else, and certainly behind the scenes as we advance and win. You know, after we win a game, now that's like work. I'll spend the next hour or so communicating with the other AD, the MIA, the officials, transportation, trying to make it all work and doing what we can to, you know, how can we help our team win?
Yeah.
So that's I'm like the GM for the team, especially when we get to the playoffs, because our focus is less teams.
Well, you're like Brad Stevens with all the success you've had over here. My goodness, you're having a fantastic run, and it's been another great spring season for you. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on a great season as a whole, great year as a whole. And I know you're already thinking about next year, but hey.
We are. You know, we had graduation last week, class of 2024. This group have won 48 Cape Ann League championships.
Wow. 7
state championships, and we're not done. You know, it'd be nice to add to that.
Yeah.
But just what they brought, like the student section, this is an amazing run, and we've won 3 of the Boston Globe Dalton Awards.
Yep.
This year's hasn't been announced yet, but like this, really a historic run by this class.
Wow.
And even if somebody's not like a 3-sport, 2-sport, or an even athlete at all, they still had a role in it.
Yeah.
Because of the spectators, the student section. That's a big part of our success too.
Yeah, it's the whole atmosphere you built, right?
Well, we all built it. A lot of people building.
There you go. Kyle Hodgson, thanks for the time as always. I know you're busy here, and we're probably got to get to a field, I imagine. So
tennis court.
Thanks for joining us again, my man. Thanks to May Power, Sarah Hayden, the boss, Maya Gassman, Ryan Rothberg, our small but mighty team here in Newburyport. We love you here. Appreciate you so much. Kyle Hodgson, Newburyport Athletic Director. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time, everybody, live at Drew's house. Peace.